Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how I get a flawless foundation. And this is after I've done my foundation, which I think I look so weird without anything on my eyes. So if you guys are going to make comments or whatever, go ahead and feel free. So this is after, and now I'm going to show you guys before. All you're going to need is your foundation, concealer, maybe some pressed powder. I use a sponge, but you can use a foundation brush. And then I have a really tiny concealer brush like this that I'm going to use. And then a regular concealer brush. And something to contour with. I use the L'Oreal True Match, which I'll show you in the video. And like a brownish colored blush, which I'll also show you in the video. So this is how I do it. Okay, so the first thing I did is I took moisturizer and I moisturized my face. Then I'm going to take primer. I'm just going to use, this is from MAC. One that I really like, Urban Decay is okay. It's pretty good. The one that I really like is actually Smashbox. But I don't have that, so I'm just going to use my MAC one. I usually just do like a couple little pumps of it like this, because it never seems to be enough. It's like my face soaks it up or something. I don't really like this one that much, but I bought it and I tried it out, so this is just what I'm going to use right now. Anyways, I'm going to prime my face everywhere. Okay, then I'm going to take my foundation, and I've actually been kind of like switching up and using different ones. I don't always use the same one. I have my MAC one, but this one I bought and it just didn't really give me the coverage that I wanted, even though it's supposed to be full coverage. So this is the Studio Fix, and I mean, I like it, but it just, I don't know, maybe it was just my skin at the time, because as you can see, I do not have perfect skin at all. But then I went and tried the Studio Sculpt, which I do like, but here recently I've just kind of went back to my L'Oreal True Match, because I actually really like it. It's a really good foundation. It's a little under like $10, but you know, as opposed to paying like $30, you know, it's worth it. And this is in W4 Natural Beige. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to use a sponge. I don't always use my foundation brush. I kind of go back and forth, and sometimes I even just use my fingers because it warms it up better. But I'm going to use my sponge, and I'm just going to put a little bit on my sponge. And I do this a couple times. I don't like to get it all on there at once, because then I feel like I'm like, you know, if I get too much by accident, then I just have a bunch of extra on my sponge. And I'm just going to kind of take it and pat it everywhere. And I don't know why, like, one of the areas that I really do not like on my skin is around my eyes, because I have very, very, like, horrible under eye circles. There's nothing I can do about it, so I usually start in that area first, and then I just kind of work my way around to everywhere else. I'll probably speed this part up, just so it's not taking as long. And you know, you might think, oh, she's using so much, but I mean, this is just what I do to cover up my skin. I do not have perfect skin at all. I wish that I did, but I'm not that lucky. And don't worry, I'm not just gonna, it's gonna be all blended in. I guess another reason maybe I use a sponge is because I feel like I have more control with it that way, as opposed to using a foundation brush. I used to, like, would only use my foundation brush, and now not so much anymore. I usually, if I'm not using my fingers, I'm using a sponge, so. Bring it down onto the neck. You don't want a line anywhere. Around the nose, because women are more like hormonally like red in these areas. And I usually go back over it with my concealer anyways. And as you can already tell, you know, you get just as good of coverage with, you know, the L'Oreal True Match as you do with, you know, a lot of other foundation stuff. It's one that I definitely do recommend. Okay. Now that we've done that, I'm going to take my concealer, and this is MAC Select Cover Up, and this is actually NC20, because the guy actually gave me the wrong one. I'm actually an NC25 and he gave me 20, which is fine because the main reason I was getting it was for under my eyes. Which I'm going to show you another thing that's actually really good for that. But now with this I don't use my sponge, I do use my little concealer brush. This is from Eco Tools, and their brushes are actually really good. Just going to take about that much. And then I'm going to go underneath my eyes. I usually do a couple of dots there. And I tend to break out like in this area a lot. As you can see right now, I do have a few spots on my face. So I'm just going to kind of put it where I need it. My chin stays pretty red usually. I've got one right up there. I'm just going to kind of pat that around everywhere. Like I said, I get really bad under eye circles, so as you can tell, I concentrate on the eye area a lot. Another little trick that I learned is when you're wanting to conceal your under eye circles, you kind of go like in a little triangular shape this way, like this. And then you just kind of blend it outward, and it actually will just kind of make everything look lighter. Okay, and I'm just going to continue to do that right throughout here. I don't necessarily always like do it like just lines. I usually just kind of pat it down through there because then it doesn't seem like it. My skin, I have very dry skin. That's why I have to moisturize so much before I put my foundation on. Or any makeup. It seems to help whenever I just kind of pat it in as opposed to just going like this and down or whatever. Right now being, you know, I just had a baby a couple months ago. Well, almost a couple months ago. It, you know, everything's still kind of going crazy, so my skin's breaking out. Now I do kind of focus on that that triangular shape under the eyes still, but I don't necessarily like streak it. That, you know, would probably work for people whose skin is not as dry as mine, but with me it does not work. And another little thing that you could do is you could take the, this is the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage Palettes, and this is in SC4. And you get both of these colors. So they're really great for like under the eye area. Yes, I'm using my fingers, I know. And you kind of gotta blend that out with your fingers a little bit or it's gonna look really weird. And I usually kind of take it up onto the eyelid and onto the brow bone. And another thing that I do, and I don't always do this, but if you want to contour a little bit, this is actually from L'Oreal True Match also. And this is this is not my shade, obviously. I only use this for contouring, that's why it's like completely full. And this is an N8 Cappuccino. And I usually just take, this is a very, very little brush. And this is just a little like cheapo brush from Claire's, actually, I think. And I usually just take a very, very little bit because it's really dark. And just do like a little line up through here. And here. And then down a little bit. And yes, this is very dark. And I just kind of take and blend it out with my fingers. I don't leave it like that. And this is just going to add a little bit of contouring because no one's face is all completely one color. And then I'm going to do the same over here. Okay, now, you know, the last thing I do is, well, I have one other thing to do, but I don't like to use a whole lot of powder because, like I said, my face is very dry, but I do like to go, like, around the eyes where, you know, to try and get that concealer to stay even more because I don't want it to, like, fade out and then you, like, you know, you really be able to see my under eye circle, so I just kind of roll it around my eyes and on my eyelids. I usually kind of pat, and then I just kind of pat everywhere with it. I don't, like, wipe it everywhere. You know, a lot of times the reason why I don't use, like, a kabuki brush or something is sometimes I do, but the reason why I usually don't is because it seems like you get so much more on the brush than if I just barely pat with a sponge. And you can even this is actually from L'Oreal True Match also, but it's the only one I could find whenever I was at Walmart. And this, you know, this is actually, it's just a blush. Just like if you were to use Blunt from MAC, which I don't have, so this is the alternative I'm going to use. It's pretty much like, it's a close color. This is actually called, this is W34. It just says barely blushing. It doesn't really have like a name. And I take a little like contouring brush like this. Just a little bit, and I'm just kind of, you know, even it out everywhere. Because anything that's, you know, a cream or whatever, you always want to set it with a powder. It's going to make it last longer. Or a liquid. And I kind of go down to my neck with it just a little bit.